Welcome back to the Hobby Chop Podcast. This is the podcast for the people. I am Big Ken, and you can see we have a guest here tonight. Why Zip is off to Disney World this week. We have a special guest co-host, Steve Loff, at on Instagram at SL_PC_. I get that right, Steve?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
You just plug in SLPC on the first one that comes up. But
excellent. I felt like I've been typing that in all day long. Steve, thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for filling in tonight. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Ken. Thanks for having me. It's always good to see you.
Yeah, of course. So we met, 3-4 years ago? We met, I think.
Yeah.
We met doing a deal or getting a deal done, and since then you've started setting up as a dealer at shows, but you've got kind of a crazy PC, right? 5-minute elevator pitch who you are, so people listening in know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I collected as a kid like a lot of us and took a 28-year hiatus, came back to the hobby in 2019, right before COVID. And so what? I'm entering like year 7 now, back in the hobby, and have gone into all different lanes. But now my main PC is PSA ones. Most people know me for my crazy PSA one collection. I've got over like 200 odd and rare PSA ones of iconic cards and not so iconic cards, some ironic cards, as I like to say.
Yeah.
So I've been setting up as a dealer for a little over 3 years now. So I've been behind the table, and that's been an education. That's been a lot of fun, and now I'm creating content also around those experiences behind the table, like your classic dealer POV content. And spent a lot of time on Instagram. I've met you at a couple of different shows. We did that deal back when. We have some mutual friends and hobby associates like Craig, New York City Sports Cards, and Carmine's Cards. I met Carmine at the airport in 2024 going to my first national. And we just happened to be on the same connecting flight.
Oh, okay. So that was Cleveland, right? Going to
Cleveland. Yeah, we were going to Cleveland. I think it was at LaGuardia, and he was connecting, and a bunch of collectors going out to the show were on the same flight, but I met Carmine. Yeah. And we got to know each other right there in the airport, showing each other our collections. I was showing him my crazy PSA ones, and he had all those beautiful like patch autos, Hall of Fame patch autos, as Birds and Magics, who we'll talk about tonight. When we're talking about prospecting Hall of Famers, I think they're on the short list.
Yes, I bet you they are.
But yeah, so here I am, on the Hobby Chop with you, filling in for Zip. Better him than me, being at Disney World, not my lane.
I spent a few weeks in Disney down in Florida throughout the years when my kids were younger. The last time I went, believe it or not, I went by myself. So, and it was probably, even though it's great to go with young kids and all that stuff, but I think that solo trip was probably the best trip I had. I got to do what I wanted to do. If I wanted to go on a ride 3 times, nobody was telling me, I don't want to do that, So it was kind of fun taking a solo trip down there. Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
But getting back to you, I just have to ask this question, and I know we've talked at shows and online and everything else, but I really have to imagine, because I have a PSA 3 Mac Jones card that was just kind of funny that, I got that. I sent all these out during COVID. I got a whole bunch of 10s and one came back a 3, right? And it's a pop 1. And I mean, you know how hard it is to get a PSA 3 on a card, right? Especially a modern card. I can't even imagine how hard it is to get a PSA 1 on a card. So you just can't set out and look at a card and say, oh yeah, this is a PSA 1 for sure, I'm going to grade it. I mean, you just have to go out and buy all those PSA 1 cards, right?
Mostly 95% of my collection are PSA 1s that I've bought. When I've subbed, Ken, like if I sub 20 cards and I'm going for the 1s, it's ridiculous. It's almost like subbing for the 10s. I get like a 40% 1 rate. These cards are beat to hell, and I'm getting 1.5s that are like unicorns. I'm getting like 4 or 5 in a sub. I swear PSA is playing pop control on the bottom end of the pop report, just like they play on the top end. It's really insane.
I could see you like, I gotta fold this up and
Yeah, overgraded. I like the hunt, and I've found most of them in the wild. At shows. The White Plains show this past weekend, the East Coast National, was awesome for finding a few, more of the traditional PSA ones. And I'll buy an SGC one as well, but I usually find them graded. Grading can be very tricky. It's not as easy. Everyone's like, oh, you could just make a one. It's not that simple.
yeah.
I sold a Michael Jordan PSA 1 a couple weeks ago, 1989 hoops. It's the card where he's dribbling the ball and he's got his finger up, going up the court. He's calling the play. He's holding up the one. So it's a great PSA 1. That's probably why I loved it. Top 5, 48,000 graded higher, right? So it's a needle in a haystack. It's like such a rare grade. I bought it for $12 in February of 2023. Brought it out to a show a couple weeks ago. I had a 175 sticker on it. Everyone's like, oh, that's interesting. One guy thought it was a 10. He's running comps in a 10. I'm like, no, it's a 1, right? So I take it home. No interest in this card in my showcase, right? I put it on a 7-day, Sunday night, 7-day auction on eBay, Sunday night. What did the card end at? PSA 1, 1989 hoops, Michael Jordan. His market's through the roof. So it was a little game I was playing. I wanted to see, like, can I capitalize on Jordan's market with the PSA 1?
45.
$410.
What?
7-day auction, Sunday night to Sunday night. I ended around 10 Eastern, $410. I had to send it through eBay authentication for a PSA 1. Top 5, 48,000 graded higher.
Wow.
Pretty incredible.
Was there any other recent sales on that card?
No. Again, it never comes up.
Yeah.
And I bought it for 12 ship. 12 ship that in 2023. Just wow. It speaks to Jordan's market, but also speaks to, like, collectors, I guess, finding different ways to collect and building those rainbows and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, pretty wild. But I got 410 on that one.
Here, I was way off.
Yeah.
Times 10, right? So let's get started tonight. You started setting up as a dealer, and that was one of the first conversations we had about just the ups and downs, the highs and the lows, about being on. I mean, from the dealer's point of view, right? The dealer's POV. That if you're a dealer and you've been there, but if you've never set up as a dealer from the other side of the table, I mean, immediately. And something we discussed was, people automatically assume you're crushing it, right? You're making a fortune. You're buying these cards for nothing, and you're making all your money on me. Like people sometimes treat you like you're robbing people when you're behind the table. And the reality of it is, if you're doing the grind, like we do the grind, like almost every weekend, we're setting up at shows. If you, and I'm going to start with, if you really broke it down to an hourly rate, what you were paying yourself. I mean, could you even be on a positive? Could it even be positive? Like what you feel you're worth? Right. Because I have this conversation with my wife all the time. She's like, my God, you're putting all these hours in. Like, what are you getting paid an hour down there? Like doing all that stuff. But I mean, it's a hobby. So I love doing this stuff. And I could spend 8 hours doing this and then finish and be like, not even think twice and go off and do something else. Where if I was at a job and I did 8 hours, I'd come home and be like, oh my God, that was the longest job ever. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think we do it because we love it, right? And we like dealing in cards. So that's the first thing. If you think about how much you're making, I'm still operating in the low to mid end. I'd like to get out of the low end. I'd like to, in fact, I'm going out this weekend, this Saturday. I'm doing the North Jersey Card Show. Shout out Nick and the North Jersey Card Show. I'll be there Saturday from 9 to 3. I'm not bringing a dollar box. Every few shows I build a dollar box, I bring one out. Now I'm going like, everything's like $20 and up. I want to get to a point where I've got like everything is, 50 and up, 100 and up, right? I want to get up to that level. I'll never be operating in the 4s and 5 figures. I don't think it's not really my thing. But, my average show, if I can gross at a small local show, if I could gross 1,000, 1,500, that's a pretty good show, right? If I'm going out with some cards that are anywhere from $50 to $200. And on that, let's say I make that $1,500 in sales. What am I making? 10 to 20% in profit. So, maybe 300 of that is profit for the day. Now it's the 6 hours, it's the travel, it's, the setting up for the show. But the one thing I'll say about the show, not only is it fun, we enjoy it, right? We enjoy going out. We like dealing in cards. I like the negotiation aspect. But it's the only place I know, Ken, without sending a bunch of stuff to auction, where you could mass liquidate. And that's why I keep going back. So I'm trying to just get my collection down to the cards that I want. I have cards besides PSA ones, right? But I'm trying to partly why I started going out is I was consolidating. It was part of my consolidation process. And I don't know any other way to go out and sell cards in mass other than posting lots on Facebook Marketplace, or like I said, sending stuff to auction, which I've done in the past. I've sent 50 and 60 cards at a time to Probstein, or I know you use PC Sports Cards. Haven't done that in a while because now I just take that stuff out to the shows and it goes. I come home with a lighter case, mission accomplished, even if I didn't make, a ton of money. But there are shows where, I'll make close to $10,000. Like I did the Hofstra show a couple of years ago. It was huge. It was great. I know dealers. I talked to a dealer this weekend that worked at White Plains. Made it was a 5-figure show for them. I'm sure there were dealers that did 6 figures. They're operating at that level. Yeah. But the margins can be tight. The margin, we're not getting rich. You and I are not getting rich setting up at the shows. We're just trying to make a few bucks and keep hobbying.
I mean, one of the things, just to break down a little bit of what you said, we could send, and I've done that. I'd send cards out to consignment, and I've realized that I think for me personally, for it to make sense, I need to send higher end cards out, in order for it to make sense. And those higher end cards, I really don't want to send out. Like I really would rather have them at a show. And also going to the shows, it creates opportunity. Right. And I know people like Zip, my co-host, talks about I can, I don't have to go to shows. I can buy and sell online and do all that stuff. And he's 100% right. But I just feel like if I'm out at a show, it just creates opportunities for me to find cards, find deals. And, it's like if I'm looking for candy, right? If I go to the candy store, I'm guaranteed to find it, right? But if I go to Walmart, I may have to go up and down a bunch of aisles looking before I could find the candy aisle, right?
Well, you talked about opportunity. It's a great way to put it, Ken. And you have the opportunity at a show to buy a card and not set a new comp. We're in a comp world, right? I mean, comps are a whole other discussion. But if I buy that card on eBay for $1,000, and I try to take it out to the show on Saturday, I'm working with $1,000 comp. If I go to the show and I stack 3 or 4 or 5 cards with the dealer who's already priced fair and is willing to give me another 10%, another 15%, like I did this past weekend, I got some cards at a good deal. 3 iconic cards. I got a Joe Montana PSA 8, 1981 Topps rookie. I got the Jim Brown 1958 rookie and a PSA 2. And I got a third card, a Mickey Mantle 1955 Bowman. 3 cards. I got it about 90% comps. And it's been a week. One of them popped even higher. And I feel the Montana is going to keep going up. I'm probably going to leave it home this week. And I'll take out the Jim Brown. I'll take out the Mantle. Because I'm already up. And I think I'm up a little bit more. If I weren't at the show, I couldn't have found that opportunity or that deal to get the card below comps. No one knows what I paid for it. There's not a comp out there. And I'm now probably, going to make 20% on each one of those cards. And they're, a $500 card, an $850 card. So there's arbitrage. If you're on the floor and you go into the shows week to week, besides the relationships you can build to get some deals that you wouldn't normally be exposed to or have access to.
Yeah. And that's important too, just the relationships. And for me, doing the podcast, meeting people, just being out there to meet people and things like that. So, yeah. Let's just say hello to the people. Howard, welcome in. Bill, what's up, Big Ken? Welcome. Preston Muncie, K7U, what is up? And back to Bill. Bill just moved to South Carolina. He says 2 shows in South Carolina. It's different from 3 shows a weekend in Connecticut. My guy, Military Breaker. What up, kid? Appreciate you being in here tonight. Here's another one. Here's another one. I'm just talking to him. So he's taking the route. He just bought a scanner. He just bought one of those expensive scanners, and he's going to
Sure.
go the route of scanning and putting cards up on eBay.
Yeah.
And probably more similar, like what you're doing with the cards you're talking about now, right? Those, and I think those cards are so easy to buy at shows, especially from people like us, right? Who are trying to get into the higher end of the higher, like we're always trying to move up. And,
Yeah.
and sometimes whenever I go to a reset or I'm saying I want to sell everything, I go through the office and I start building the $1 and $3 and the $5 boxes because the stuff's just accumulating in the office. But
Yeah.
it, I'm the perfect mark for people that are doing stuff like that because I'm just trying to move these cards out. I'm not here wasting a whole bunch of time negotiating on $1 and $3 and $5 cards where that's their whole life. Like not their whole life, but maybe that's their livelihood or that's their lane. That's what they're doing. So they find 10, 15, 20 people like me at a show, right? They can clean up, get buying these cards and go home and just start listing them on eBay. And there's a behind for every seat, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's for whatever people want to do. Some people say, hey, yeah, I want to do that stuff. Other people are like, I want to move up. I want to be in 50. You just said I want to be in 50 or higher cards. Why? Because there's probably more margin in there. Right. I mean, there's not a lot of margin in cards up to $20, $30. There's, even if you try to do percentages on it, somebody wants to be, I mean, you're only talking under $1 or $1 something is some of those percentages. So
Yeah, I mean a 15% margin on a $500 card versus a 15% margin on a $50 card. It's just dollars and cents. Um, yeah, I'm with you. It's like I'm there to liquidate. So if you're finding me, there's a good chance you're going to find a good deal. Especially if I have a box out and I've already sold X amount of cards in that value box. I've I've done a couple of shows in the last 3 months where at the end of the show I'm looking for someone to just take the whole box. You know, Go ahead, take it. I'll make you the best deal. Um, yeah, and I was at Bill in South Carolina. Not
yeah.
many shows. Good for you. Less competition, right? Because sometimes we're setting up in Connecticut or New York or in Jersey, and there's multiple shows going on, so it could be hit or miss. It's the other thing of setting up. You never know what even an established show could have a bad weekend, and there's not as many people through the door.
Yeah, sometimes you would think, like I think if like for him being there, I think if I went to an area like that immediately, I'd be trying to start a show, right? I'd be
Yeah,
looking for the VFW or something similar to start, a once a month or twice a month show just to try to be the first person in there, even though nobody's doing it and it may only start out with a handful of people each week, but it's something that you know may grow or you would hope that would grow.
yeah.
Let's see, who else did we have here? Sports card the hobby. Michael, what is up with you? Billy is good. That's the other half of Bill and Billy. What's up?
Hmm.
Um,
MJ inserts are booming, says Military Breaker
yeah,
4296. Yeah,
yeah.
that's for sure.
Sports Mike 2. Hello. Oh, and that must be his scanner, the FI 8170. Yes, you'll have to give us a full report on that.
I like the scan tool right in eBay. Have you used it, Ken? Do you sell on eBay?
I've used the scan tool on eBay like to identify cards. I do that a lot. Like if I'm not sure, what the actual, version of that card is, The
Yeah,
only down part, I came back from the national and I was using that a lot just to identify what the cards were when I wanted to comp it. I just found it easier just to take a picture, let eBay kick up and I could go through and say, oh yeah, that's the card, now I can search it easily. Old school because I'm old,
yeah.
right?
Right.
But
No, they have a function where you could scan to sell, and I've used that someone just showed it to me a few months ago, and I've been using that to scan and list some lower end cards, even like $3 and $4 cards that I could put in a plain white envelope.
so you just take your phone and scan the card. It'll automatically tell you, give you a description and everything on
Yeah, it
it.
gives you the whole description. It gives you the price, and you just hit, list, and it just pulls up the listing. You just check the details, and you hit, and you just list it. Yeah, I'll have
Does
to
it
show
give
it to you offline.
Yeah, does it give you, does I obviously gives you the option. Does it suggest whether you should do it as an auction or is it a buy it now?
It will give you the option to do both. I'm on my phone here. I'm sure you can see it, but here's my eBay app. Right and down here is my eBay, and I open the my eBay. Can you even see that, Ken? Probably
Yep.
not. In my eBay, and you scroll down under selling shortcuts. They've got a shortcuts menu here, and it says scan cards, right? Scan cards. It's not the scan in the menu bar, but there's a scan cards under shortcuts, and that's where I've been. And it opens up the camera. You take a picture, hit your right, it'll list the card for you. You set the price, and you're on your way. I could list 10 cards in 10 minutes, like a minute a card.
Oh, that's a nice tool. I did not know that. And
Yeah, under the
that's my
shortcut.
biggest downfall when I'm going to put up. I got to sit here in the office, set up the staging to take pictures front and back and all that. So yeah, that would be fun to
Yeah,
be able to
yeah. Give it a go. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. But now we're getting into, I'm doing a show every weekend, probably for the next 2 months. Right. So I won't have anything or hardly anything listed on eBay for sale. So again, from our little behind the dealer POV, behind the table, for sourcing cars, how have you found that? I mean, you've been setting up for a few years now. Are you finding it easier with the relationships you're making? Are you finding it harder because margins are so much slimmer?
I think the latter. It's hard. The margins are slim for a lot of dealers, so you just have to find the right dealer. I find I'm sourcing mostly at the shows. So if I'm not working a show, I'm trying to walk a show if I need inventory. Right now I'm pretty well stocked, so I'll go out this Saturday. I'm hoping to sell a bunch. If I sell too much, I might hit a show on Sunday to restock for next weekend.
Yep.
But if I don't, I'm like halfway home. I don't have to do much going into next weekend, right? I set up for a show, usually good for 2 or 3 weekends. That's set up. But hopefully I have a good show and I have to go out and buy more. But mostly in person, at shows. Again, you're buying on eBay, you're setting a comp. It's hard to find that margin. Not really doing Facebook Marketplace these days. I used to buy big lots. Like I know you bought a lot recently. I haven't done that in a while because I still have a lot of stuff that I need to get through and get out. The grading shutdown has hurt me a little bit in the sense that I would often, like quarterly, just send in 30, 40, 50 cards, vintage, 90s, 2000s, like stuff that even in a, 8 or a 9, there's some arbitrage. I can make a few bucks. I can make my margin. Can't really do that right now.
And I don't know if you saw, they just in PSA announced today that they're pushing their regular grading. People were using that as bulk grading, I guess. Now that's been pushed back.
It's what's really bad about that? It's not only because I did the crazy stunt. You can check my Instagram for the video where I submitted 3 cards at the regular submission rate, all for PSA 1s. So $80 a card for the PSA 1. It's funny, but then I sold the Jordan for $410, right? They're all like pop 0, and there's a Mike Tyson, it's a pop 1. But what's really bad about them extending the wait times on the regular means there's demand at $80. So when are they ever going to bring back value? If I'm running a business
exactly
and there's that kind of demand at $80,
yeah,
it's like that's the most depressing part. Not that I paid $80 plus shipping, I paid $275 for 3 cards. So you do the math, almost over $90 a card. So now I have to wait 3 months, 4 months, 5 months for that to come back. But it's the demand that's still there at $80 a card. When are we ever going to see value come back? I don't know if ever.
Well, and here's something I know. I just went back and looked. So this card that just came back yesterday to me from PSA, I posted up on my Instagram. So this got to PSA June 16th. This card right here. Mm-hmm. Got to PSA June 16th, and I just arrived yesterday home. So, and I set it at the regular level. I mean, yeah. I'm ecstatic that it's a PSA 10, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. But I saw you post that on Instagram.
I never expected it. I thought this was going to be an 8, maybe a 9, but because it was, just the card that it was with all the inscription on it, I just wanted it encased. Right? With my car, I wanted it in case. Then it comes back at 10. And I'm like, all these cards I sent in to get a 10. I can't get a 10. The one I'm like, I don't care what it comes back. I'm like, yep, there.
Well, I have a question. Did you direct sub or submit through PC Sports Cards?
No, I direct sub that.
And
I
that
sent
was
it
a
myself.
1-card sub.
Yep.
So that's interesting. I mean, you gave them the 1 card, and they said, okay, maybe they give you the benefit of the doubt for the 1-card sub at the $80 level, because I still feel grading is subjective in so many ways.
Of course it is.
So there's that, and good for you to get it back in 2 months, because it seems like a lot of us at the $80 level, the regular service level, are going to be waiting much longer than we had anticipated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just wild.
Yeah. And the last question I wanted to talk to you about is what when you're out to show, what are you buying? Like what is your lane? What are you buying and selling at your table?
Yeah, I'm staying in my lane, and I'm buying Hall of Fame vintage. I don't mind buying a low grade. I bought the Jim Brown and a PSA 2. Obviously, that's a card that you get away with in a low grade. I bought the Mantle in a 1. You know, I collect 1s. So if I see a nice 1, I know there's some money to be made on a 1 if I get it at a good price, because I really know that market. I'm looking at PSA 1s all the time, and it's like, I know half the people that are going to listen to this be like, PSA 1s, how can you make money on that? But you know, if you're talking about iconic players and iconic cards, there is some arbitrage in the low grades, in the 1s and the 2s, because you never see them. And there are collectors that want to get in on an iconic card or a great player at that price point. Yep. So, you know, and even in the 9s and the 10s, the margins are such that, you know, if I'm making 15 to 20% on a 9 or a 10, well, if I can make that on a low grade and card, you know, why not? I like to have that stuff in my case. I'm looking for vintage. I'm looking for GOATs like everyone else. I'm looking for Hall of Famers and fan favorites, anyone in between. But I don't do the mod, the ultra modern, the QB flips. I got burnt in the hobby. You know, all of my negatives, all of the cards I'm underwater on are the John Morants, the Zion Williamsons, you know, the Trey Youngs, you know, all the baseball players I prospected. That just didn't work out for me. I think 99 of 100 don't work out. I know some collectors make money in that, and they can flip and make money. It didn't work for me, so I kind of go with established stars and Hall of Famers when I'm looking for cards.
Yeah, it's definitely hot potato, right? And I've done it, and I was somewhat successful, you know, when I really went back and I weighed both sides of it. But it's something that I'm getting out of too, out of that, you know, prospecting, and also with the change from Panini to Topps with the licensing and the cards, you know, the cards that are coming out and how we're purchasing them and what the prices on those cards. Immediately the box prices all went up on stuff that I'd been buying, and then they're consolidating all the players, especially the college, into the pro boxes now. So just a lot of changes in that has really kept me away from you know, buying, ripping, or even prospecting on you know, young players.
I love ripping too. I grew up ripping, you know, opening packs of cards, right? And when I got back in 2019, that was part of my hobby, was ripping. But like you said, it's just so expensive. I can't justify it. I'd rather take that $500 for a hobby box or $1,000 for a hobby box and buy, you know, 7 or 8 graded cards, a couple for the PC, a couple I could bring out to shows and make 20 or 25% on, and just keep it moving that way. Yeah, it's just not economical. I just can't hobby that way right now. Can't do it.
All right, well, let's jump into the highlight of the episode tonight: prospecting Hall of Famers, right? And it seems like it's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, it does seem like that. You know, and you were just asking what I buy at shows. I like stuff that has a floor, and I feel like if you're prospecting, if you're looking for something that's got some upside, right? Some wild upside. I think it's nice to have that floor that Hall of Fame cards offer. Yeah. And we've seen some of these guys pop, right? I'm going to talk about someone that's popped recently, Peyton Manning. So I had a bunch of, for years, since like 2021, Ken, I was buying Peyton Manning refractors. I had like almost his full career, including his Topps Chrome rookie, 1998 Topps Chrome, and a BGS 9.5. And from 2021 when I started until 2024 when I finally got out of my 9.5 Topps Chrome refractor, it's like a pop 45 at the time. It was flat, and I was like, I'm done with this card. I was at the 2024 National. I traded it into a Giannis Silver Prism PSA 10. Right? I traded out of it at about $3,000. It recently sold for $8,000. So Peyton Manning is a good example of a Hall of Famer that was just sitting there for us. he was flat for years while everyone was chasing the hot QB or the hot NBA prospect or the hot MLB prospect. Here was Peyton Manning. Here was Brady up here, and here was Manning.
And everybody commenting on those prices, right? Oh, I can't believe Peyton gets no love. Brady got all the love. Peyton doesn't get any love.
I mean,
we all
thought eventually he would close the gap. I didn't hold long enough. Now I still have a couple of the refractors, and thankfully I sent them to the PSA vault. I've got about 50 cards there. Otherwise, I probably would have flipped them too early because they've now like more than 2x at this point. They're sitting in my vault, and I'm still holding them, thinking they're going to keep running up. So who else is out there? Who's the next prospecting Hall of Famers? Like, who's the next one? And that's where I've kind of turned my attention, and we talked about it a little bit offline.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you a funny story, right?
Yeah.
So I am in a group, you know, we're always a bunch of guys, card guys, and we're talking, you know, no matter what's going on, we're chatting all day. So today it was the Topps basketball cards. I can't think of what particular one it was, but they were going today at noontime. Right. I mean, at 12 o'clock, you could go on and submit your name to be in a lottery to get, you know, to purchase the boxes. Right. Mm-hmm. So, Motif. Thank you, Howard. Topps Motif. And Howard was in that chat. Right. So somebody said, oh, these boxes are $1,400 a box. Is it worth it? And a couple of people are like, yeah, it's worth it. If you can get them, it's worth it. Right. So I just started thinking to myself, like, God, $1,400, right, for you know, for a hobby box. And what could I pull out of it? Like, am I going to get my money out of it? I mean, I'm obviously, if I'm hitting a Cooper flag or something like that, I'm going to get my money out of it. So I just did a little exercise today. I said, okay, if I had $1,500 to spend, right, and I was going to go spend it right now, or I'm sorry, $1,400. It ended up being almost 15 because I couldn't round it out correctly. But this was the list of cards I could come up with the same amount than buying that box, right? So one person you and I both agreed on, we talked about, was Jerry Rice, right? So a Jerry Rice PSA 8 rookie.
You just read my mind. Go ahead. The Jerry Rice PSA 8.
Yeah. A Randy Moss Bowman Chrome PSA 10. A Steve Young PSA 8. Emmett, and these are all rookies. And Emmett Smith PSA 9. Brett Favre, the Stadium Club PSA 10. Ray Lewis, Bowman's Best PSA 9, and the cheapest card on the whole thing, Troy Aikman Score PSA 9, brought us to just between $1,400 and $1,500, right? Yep. So now here we are pulling out, you know, 7, 8 Hall of Fame players that you could be prospecting on any one of these players. Right. I mean, any one of these Hall of Fame players that buying those cards now, we can almost guarantee that we're going to see an improvement, a price, you know, a rise in price of those cards at some point. It may not be next month. It may not be in 6 months. It may not be a year or 2 years. But at some point, we're going to see it's going to catch up. And my belief is that so many new people coming into the hobby are getting burned, just like you talk about getting burned with all this new stuff. And I think we're seeing such a push up now of the Hall of Fame type players that people are like, I'm gonna, like, it's a safer bet. Like it may not go flying up. It may not be a flippable card. In other words, I may not be able to buy this card today and go to the next show and flip it for making 15 or 20% on the card. But at least if I buy it, I'm not going to lose the money on a prospect that the guy beats up his girlfriend, or he's in a car accident, or he gets hurt on the field or something, and all of a sudden, or it just doesn't make it. Right. Yeah, and all of a sudden the card is just zero. So I think we're seeing a lot of that in the hobby right now. And more people like collectors. I mean, we talk about flipping all the time. And if Zip was here, he'd be the first one yelling, there are way more collectors in the hobby than flippers. Right. And, you know, he's true in that aspect. But I mean, we think about flipping those cards, but you know, if you want to buy some cards and just hang on to them like you did your Peyton Manning cards, you could see a 2X or a 3X.
Yeah, for sure. I think what you get out of like the Topps motif, which I'm not very familiar with the product, but any new product, the Topps Chrome basketball, you have that opportunity for the big hit, right? The life-changing card, or just a really valuable card, even like a 4-figure, 5-figure card in that box. Whereas, the cards you mentioned, it's more of a slow burn. It's a good floor. You're safe. The card's only going to go up, but how much is it going to go up over time? You mentioned the Jerry Rice PSA 8. For that $1,400 for the box, you could get 3 of the PSA 8s, maybe even 4 if you find a good deal in person, and you'd be much better off, in my opinion. I think that's one card I've zeroed in on, is like the 1986 Topps Jerry Rice PSA 8. Think about this. Sounds a little crazy. The Michael Jordan Fleer PSA 8 recently hit 20,000. I don't know if it's still there. $20,000. Now, the Jerry Rice Topps rookie is not the Michael Jordan Fleer, but it's not, it's not insane to say that it's in the ballpark. It's around. I mean, Jerry Rice is the GOAT wide receiver. That card is iconic. And in a PSA 8, you can get it for $300 to $350. That card's got room to grow. That could be a card that explodes, right? The Montana PSA 8. It's more like $500 to $600. Still, when you look at that versus the Jordan, yeah, it's never going to be $20,000. It's not the Jordan 86 Fleer, but is there room could it be 2X in a year? Could be $1,000 card in a year. The Rice could be 2 or 3X in 6 months to a year. So I've been focusing there. Like we've seen, Shaq have a run up, even some like Tim Duncan cards, Griffey, of course, Bonds, all these guys have gone through the moon. So, who's next? And kind of zeroing in on which cards, which great classic rookie cards, or even not rookie cards, just like, some of their numbered parallels, some of their more rare cards. What's the best card of a player that hasn't popped yet? And I've kind of been thinking about those cards as I go
But
forward.
even 70s football, I mean, we haven't even talked about a player in the 70s, but at some point I would have to think that these players too are going to be, this lane is going to be where people are going to want to. I mean, we've seen it happen with baseball, right? All along. It's almost every year now. Like it goes right up to the junk wax era, right? I mean, it's that even like another discussion we had. I have that whole bin of cards. They're 1973 to 1979. And I'm looking at some of the values of these cards. And what's interesting is a year ago and 2 years ago, they were selling at, because they don't sell that often, a lot of these cards, and I don't know a lot of the players. So I'm looking at cards that I think, wow, this could grade well, or it looks great, or I recognize the name, right? So, I'm looking at this card and I'm like, okay, it last sold at $32, right? Or $32, say March or July or August. But then before that, it sold for $7 and $8 and $9. So, that's not a lot of money. But when you think about it over a 2-year period, right, it's tripling or 4Xing just in that short amount of time for a lot of those players. And you're seeing that with baseball. I have to imagine football at some point is going to follow suit.
Well, the Tony Dorsett rookie just set a record in a PSA 10, right? And funny, I've got a PSA 2 of that rookie, which I really love, and I brought it out to my last show, and I'm sure it's probably up a little bit, and I'll make some money on it. I got it cheap, but yeah, I mean, 70s football. I think there's some opportunity at Roger Staubach, and even years ago, I was thinking about buying an LT PSA 10 rookie. It was at 82 Topps. That's probably tripled since I thought about it. The Mario Lemieux 85 Topps. I'm like, I got to get one of these at a couple of grand, and it's now like a $10,000 card. And that's not recent. That's just been happening over time, and that can happen with the right cards and vintage. I'm seeing some of the comments. Definitely, JG, if I can just read this one, Ken, if you don't mind. Definitely less hobby boxes of Topps motif available than a Jerry Rice rookie PSA 8. But what are you pulling in those hobby boxes? Right? That's the danger of playing that game. You could spend that $1,400 and have nothing. Where if you spend the $350 on the Rice rookie and it could 2X or 3X in a year or two, you at least have that floor. That card is really never going down.
Yeah. And I have to say, everyone in my group that went in to try to get that, to entered that, but nobody got selected. Everybody that entered immediately said the same thing. Well, if I get it, I'm just going to flip it. I'm just going to sell the box.
Right.
And what that tells me is people have no faith that they're going to pull anything out of that box, right?
Right.
That box is worth way more sealed than opening that box. So really, it's just buying the box and try to flip it for, I don't know. Somebody said 2K. It's a 2K flip here. I thought somebody in the chat
Right.
said. So maybe it is. Maybe if you're one of the lucky ones that get to the lottery and get picked, that you can flip that box and make money. But I mean, I would hope to think. I mean, one of the things I was in before, you know, a lot of things changed with the wax. I loved opening cases, right? I would get a case of, say, the Bowman Chrome U basketball, right? Just buy the whole case and rip it open. There was so much value in it, especially buying it by the case, because there was case hits and there were so many great cards in there, right? To open it up. And I really felt like you made a ton of your money back in doing that. I did that with women's soccer. I did that with basketball. We were doing that with football, the optic football and Don Russ football. But I don't think there's any value. The last year we were opening cases. We weren't getting any case hits out of them. And even the cards that were coming out, you were trying to grade or sell. It was like, oh my God, I just spent like $1,000 on this case and I've got about $200 worth of value coming out of the box.
Yeah. On something like that in the Topps motif, I would ask, who's the end collector on that, right? And when we're looking at the market now, if you want to call it a market, or just let's call it the hobby, and you're looking at these players run up like the Griffey, the Bonds, the Manning, Montana, Rice. These guys are collectible. Is Topps motif collectible, or are we just in it for the flip? Is it part of this gambling culture that has, entered the hobby? Whereas it's nice to see like a Tony Dorsett PSA 10 go for a record sale, because maybe finally the collectors are winning out. The cards that we love, the players that we love, we're buying, and that's driving the market. And it's not just about, the big hit and the prospect, which it has been for a long time. And maybe there's, a bit of a shift in the landscape in that sense. But I don't know what you do with a box of Topps motif. Is that something is someone building the set and they just love those cards? I don't think so. I think they're just trying to get the big hit, trying to buy the box and flip it, which is fine too. I mean, if you can make money in this hobby, great. We're trying to make some money in this hobby.
Yeah. And there's a lane for everybody, right? We talked about that earlier. So besides who we just mentioned, any other players on your list that you would think about would be worth looking into?
I think, like, when I think about football, I think about a guy that it's another one that's right under our nose, and he hasn't really exploded yet. Maybe I've seen one or two sales go off, but maybe there's still value in Randy Moss. I mean, Moss is probably the second best wide receiver of all time.
Yeah.
Some of his refractors. Marshall Faulk, probably a top 3 running back of all time, the first dual threat. I don't think his cards have popped off yet. So think of those guys in football. And baseball, maybe Frank Thomas. I don't know that he's popped off in the way that he could. A little later, maybe there's still time to get these guys, and they're not going to pop yet, but like Pujols and Miguel Cabrera, guys that are peanuts right now. You can buy the refractors for like nothing. Maybe not Pujols rookie or Cabrera's rookie refractor, but even Cabrera's rookies, they're pretty reasonably priced compared to others. But yeah, like these great players that haven't really that haven't popped off, like Kobe and Shaq recently, and now Manning, and of course the GOATs that have popped off, like Brady and guys like that.
What about players like Elway, Marino? Like some of those other quarterbacks. It's crazy. Like, just to sit back and think that's their value. Like, you're looking at their cards that you could get for next to nothing compared to all the other players.
Yeah, I think you just have to buy the right cards. I think you have to use your data tools to look at some of the price charts to make sure they haven't popped already, and you're buying at the peak, especially in this market. Some cards have peaked and we haven't even heard about it. But if you feel like the line is still maybe ticked up a little bit and there's still some runway, and you can look at other graphs, to see the cards that have popped, the players that have popped, right? And
Yeah.
oh, this guy I think is just as good as that guy, but it hasn't popped yet. Well, maybe that's the guy that you want to get into. Stockton comes to mind for me. Dwayne Wade. I don't think Dwayne Wade's popped yet. I mean, he's right there with. He was like right there with LeBron for a while. Obviously, LeBron is in the GOAT conversation, but like a top player in the league. Give me 1 second, Ken. I got to plug in my laptop.
Okay. The battery is dying.
Yeah, I didn't realize it wasn't plugged in.
Military Breaker
literally
says.
3 seconds.
Yeah, Military Breaker says he Roberto Clemente, underrated card, and I know he said earlier that he needed one of those in a PSA 1.
This is interesting. I'm glad Military Breaker said this. Wade would have popped after his HOF induction, and this is what we're talking about, Military Breaker. And I'm sorry if we haven't articulated it. Shaq would have popped after his induction. Iverson, like all these guys that have popped recently, Manning, they popped at a certain point in time for whatever reason the market came to them, right? So if you look at a list of top 10, top 20 players in each sport, whichever sport you collect, you're going to find some guys in that top 10 or 20 that haven't popped like some of these other guys that their cards have not gone up or had that moment. And Wade is maybe one of them. It's not just that he would have gone up after his HOF induction. We're saying maybe in the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months, he could be the next guy that goes from a $1,000 refractor to a $20,000 refractor, right?
Yep.
That's what we're saying.
And prospecting, right? I mean, when I think of prospecting, right, it's always short term because the first few years I got burned on prospecting. So I always said football was my lane. I would buy the football cards, right? But the rookie cards, but I'm selling them all before the season starts. Like, even if they're projected to be the best player ever, I'm selling all the cards because I don't know what's going to happen, right? And most of those guys I prospected on, and we can go back and look at the 2021, 2022, 23, right? All those rookies and those quarterbacks that came out of there, they were, they ended up, most of them being garbage, right? And don't even have starting positions on their teams out there. But now we're talking about prospecting Hall of Famers. It's a longer term hold, right? I mean, and especially like for somebody like me that grew up, I remember a lot of these guys in the 70s and the 80s. So I have great memories of these. So I don't mind buying these cards and say, I have a bunch of Brett Favre cards here in the office, that they're worth, next to nothing, but again, I used to love to watch the guy play, so I don't mind, buying those cards.
Yeah, Brett Favre's on my list too. I mean, you just want to find the best cards that you can find of a guy like that. He's got some great Topps Chrome refractors, right?
Yep.
He could have a run up at some point in time. We don't know when. I mean, you can't predict these things, but the good thing about, we're calling it prospecting on Hall of Famers, speculating, because, prospecting, you think young guy that's just coming into the league, but I mean, I love that title. But if you're speculating on a guy like Favre and you have the right cards, you don't know exactly when it's going to pop, but it likely will pop at some point, and it has a nice floor. And even if it doesn't go up like exponentially, like some cards have in this market, it could go up. It will likely go up to some extent.
Yeah. And favorite sport for you to, I should word that differently. When you go out and look, and it sounds like you'd rather buy into basketball over baseball and football, or baseball over basketball?
I think basketball is the most liquid when I'm thinking about show inventory.
Yeah.
But I'm always drawn to baseball, and that's the sport I know best. So I'd say baseball. I always come home at the end of the show, I'm like, shit, I got 80% baseball again. I'm just like naturally drawn to it. And I'm like, but my plan was to get basketball and football in the showcase. And I'm like buying all this baseball. But I generally follow my heart. I'm like, if I like it, someone else is going to like it. And I want to think that the card has upside. And I want to know, big thing in vintage, Ken, you're getting into it now. Eye appeal is important. So it took me a while to learn what makes a nice looking card. in any grade, and I know I'm going to get the right collectors are going to pay a little bit more of a premium for it.
Yep.
But
Well,
I'd say baseball's my number one. Yeah.
yeah, this is a nice segue into the give us the vintage market update.
Vintage is strong, man. You saw it at White Plains. You know,
Yeah.
you just saw those dealers were moving cards where maybe those guys were sitting around, during the last uptick.
I felt they were selling a lot. There was a lot of vintage being sold. I went there on Sunday, and I just felt and I went there really just to, more for me just to go look at different cards that I'm thinking like certain players I'd like to buy into, right? So
Yeah.
now I'm going there and I'm saying, you know what? I want to start looking and I want to see, like, is it noticeable the difference between a PSA 2 or a 3 or a 5 or things like that on cards, and look at different prices. I did see cards moving. I did feel, and you were there too at that show. Did you feel that a lot of that vintage was really, the prices were way over comps or were high, or did you feel that the prices were appropriate to the, the 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 eye appeal of the cards?
This is where going out more frequently is helpful, and you touched on it earlier. It's knowing which dealers to go to. I will now walk past dealers at the White Plains show. You see a lot of the same dealers, right? Especially if you're regional. I know which dealers to walk past because I know they're overpriced, and it's never going to change. That are just that there's this one dealer there. I won't mention his name. He's got a lot of raw cards, doesn't have a lot of graded, but he sells at graded prices. So he's grading in his mind, and he's got out a raw card that you could probably get for 10 or 15 bucks, or it's maybe a $20 card of a Hall of Famer, and he's got it at a PSA 7 or PSA 8 price because that's what he thinks it is. Right?
Yep.
Like, that's just insane. I'm not going to go to that guy. Well, I don't waste my time. I go right past them, and I find some dealers that I know that are fair, and they're not just going to give me a deal because I know them, but they're just price fair for everyone. And you stack a few cards, and maybe they're a little bit below comps or at comps, and you could get them below that number. And they're just pricing cards to move. Whereas some of these guys are pricing cards and they're not pricing to move. I don't know how they're moving cards because they're at every show, so they must be moving to someone, but they're not moving to me because I know who they are and what their prices are, and I just walk right past.
So what vintage cards, and you talk about players or sport or years, do you think that part of the market is on the rise or is surging versus other parts of the vintage market that you think is kind of flat right now?
Yeah, I'd say you mentioned 70s football. I've been looking there a little bit. There's some stars there, some big stars like Tony Dorsett's, like the Starbucks, like maybe a Terry Bradshaw, where you could get high grade cards still for cheap. You know what I saw at the show the other day? I saw a top 15 player, 20 player for sure, NBA all time, a Moses Malone rookie, 1975 tops in a PSA 9. I almost made a move on it, but I was maxed out. I was there that morning. I had spent all my cash. And I was like, this is one more card. I probably would have held that card for a while, but I see upside, like a 70s basketball high grade, right? I like to collect the low grade, but when you're talking about cards that maybe have upside, that still have room and still feel reasonable compared to other stuff that's out there, I'd say 70s high grade basketball and football. You can still get a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. His first Lakers card, I think, is a 75 tops in a PSA 8. For $400 or $500, like a nicely centered one, PSA 9, somewhat reasonably priced, probably four figures at this point. I'd say those. I'm always looking for low grade 50s and 60s, like Koufax, Mantle. I think they're still just going up and going up, but still not crazy if you get them in the lower grade with decent eye appeal. And we talked about pre-junk wax. I feel like early 80s finally has some value. I know you got a lot with some 70s, 60s, and 70s in it. I think even now, 82, early 80s, like Nolan Ryan's, Ricky Henderson's, that were worthless 2 and 3 years ago, now have value and maybe still have some room to grow. 1985 and back. So when you talk about Roger Clemens rookie year, Dwight Gooden rookie year, then 84 tops. You got Mattingly, 83, you got Boggs, Sandberg, Gwynn, and then going back, all the Hall of Famers in those sets. I think there's some value or upside there.
I just picked up the complete 1984 set in a binder. Every card, the whole complete set in a binder, and every card looks great. It looks like somebody took it out and they slid them into, so
It's hard to grade them, right? Because those are, if they come back a 9 you can't even grade them with PSA at this point. So Fanatics Fest, I bought an 84 Ricky Henderson in a PSA 10, right? For like $350. I'm like, this is a card I'm just going to hold for a minute. This card will go up. It's not going to go down. It's only going to go up. It's already over $400, a month later. So if you could get those, I think there's some. Me and my buddy, I'm in a group chat. Me and my buddies were buying like 80s PSA 10s 5 years ago. With like George Brett, like an 82 tops, an 83 tops George Brett, or a Nolan Ryan. And those things have gone through the roof as well. You still get them at a decent price, but.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing a lot of this stuff come up now. I think a lot of, it's sad to say, I think a lot of these people are dying. A lot of the kids are finding these binders and stuff, at their parents' house or things like that. And I think a lot of that stuff is becoming more and more available now, even for me, even for a guy who doesn't do, like baseball. I've never done baseball at all. Ohtani was the most baseball I did, right? So yeah, it's interesting for somebody like me who's ending up with all this baseball, and when I'm finding the football, the 70s or the 80s football, I'm just buying it up now. I'm just I see
those guys too. Right? I mean, you grew up watching those guys and collecting those guys maybe when you were younger. So I think that is a good way to go, and you'll find that you'll be able to move those cards, and it's like I keep saying, there's a floor there that I think gives me comfort as a dealer and as a collector.
Wait, the junk wax started 1989? Is that when?
Yeah, I'd say most people would say late 80s.
Yeah, late 80s.
Like 87 was overprinted too. Maybe I always think like now 85 and earlier is kind of non-junk wax, and then for me it's like 86 and up is kind of junk. But some people point to like 86 Donruss started the overprinting, maybe 89 Upper Deck. There's a million Griffies, but it doesn't seem to matter. His PSA 10 still like a $4,000 or $5,000 card, and it's a pop 5,000.
Yeah, that's interesting enough. When I go, I tell people what I do, and they're always like, "Oh, I got all these cards. They're worth a fortune. Here, come with me. Come look at them." And they open the closet, and it's like, it's the 91, the 92, and it's the complete set boxes. I mean, these things are not even open. They're in pristine condition. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's nice.
Yeah. If I see those late 80s and early 90s, it's like, all bets are off. I had a friend tell me, he's like, I'm going back to Texas where my childhood cards are. I'm going to send you some pictures. He's like, I got this Darryl Strawberry. I'm looking on eBay. I think it's valuable. It's like a 1991 Upper Deck. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, bro. That's not where it's at.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, did we hit all our topics tonight? We got the pre-junk wax, behind the table, the vintage market.
Yeah. I think we did. You got some comments here. I don't know if you want to address them, but
I'm going to jump back up now.
I know we're almost out of time.
Yeah, no, not at all. Somebody wants to know if did Steve say Griffey? Did you say Griffey?
I did say Griffey. His market kind of popped recently.
Senior, junior?
Junior, of course. There's still time if you want to get in on senior.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm pulling. I see the seniors cards in these 70s cards I'm going through. Bill says Ken is going vintage after the National. Yeah, well, I'm making a change. A lot of 90s inserts of all the big players. Bill says 1980s cards are going up because Gen X has money to live their childhood. And I always think that about, you think that especially like in vintage cards, right? So people are like, "Oh, if we're in the 19, I'm collecting the 52 sets and then the 53." And then you start seeing the prices going up because people, they're more in demand, and then people are moving back to the 59 and then 60 and then 60, right? And I think what happens is when a certain, certain cards just become hit a certain price, people just fall back. Let's see what's affordable. Let's see what's more affordable, and
Yeah,
all of a sudden those start running up too, right? And I think we saw that a lot with Jordan, right? Everybody wanted the big push on the 90s inserts, where those were selling for like a couple bucks a card. Right now they're, they're skyrocketing just because it's in demand. Everybody's trying to buy them, right?
absolutely. And that's why we talked about, like, you get priced out of Jordan. So where's the money going to go next? That's
Mhm.
going to drive up. And there's opportunities out there to find some of these guys. I'm talking like top 10, 15 players in each sport. That you look at that list and you're like, oh wow, his cards are affordable, and
Mm.
they're probably gonna, at some point in time, go up.
Mhm. Uh, JG says Marino always has a strong market. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, what's that from Game of Thrones? The not the prince that was promised, but the one that never got the throne, right? Never won the ring, but
I see Sports Mike too says Nolan Ryan should be much higher. I can tell you, as someone who's watched Nolan Ryan's market closely, his like early 80s, even late 70s have gone way up. I bought two 1979 tops, Nolan Ryan PSA 9, about 350. I bought them, Ken, and they're now 750, 800. I sold one way too soon. I probably sold it, in the fours. I was just trying to get out of it because, again, it was just flat for like 2 years. And now it's finally doubled. I'm holding the other. In fact, I'll have it in my showcase this week, and I'm finally bringing it out.
Mm.
But yeah, so he's already had somewhat of a run up, but there's probably still some opportunity there with
Yeah, and
Nolan
some
Ryan.
cards that I'm going through, like the Nolan Ryan card, I say I want to send that out to grading, right? Like
Right.
it's okay if it comes back a 9, right? Or even an 8
Yeah.
on some of those. So on some of those cards, and getting that news today about PSA, I was like, I was putting a stack together of cards that
Even
I
at the $80 price point.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, why wouldn't I send this at that price point, right?
Yeah, it was interesting I was at Fanatics Fest, and I saw, was it CGC? What's the Fanatics grading company? Is it CSG or CSG?
CSG, I think.
CSG. I saw some of their slabs with some vintage cards. Thought they looked nice. They
Mm.
look nice enough. I wonder if that's something that, I know some collectors are going to start experimenting there, or dealers. I've heard like Mike Baker grading. Some dealers and collectors are sending cards there because they're getting them back, and it's like,
Mm.
it's
Can
something.
can you trust the authenticity though versus, like a PSA or a BGS or SGC? I mean, I would feel, especially on vintage and things like that, I would feel more comfortable knowing how many fakes there are out there and how many fakes got through PSA, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think though, if you're talking about like 70s, Nolan Ryan cards, there's not a lot of fakes out there, right? And
Yeah.
and CSG and Mike Baker, they've got somewhat of a reputation, and especially CSG, Fanatics behind it. There's money there. I'm sure if something comes back fake, they're going to make it right.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're not talking about 52 mantles. We're talking about some 70s Hall of Famers that maybe have some value in the slab. Might be worth at some point, even for me, to send in 20 cards to CSG, see if they move in the showcase.
Mm.
Maybe I'll go with 10 and see if that works, and then ramp it up from there. But we need an alternative. So
Yeah, 100%. And Sports Card the Hobby says Mike Baker. Yeah, he used to work for PSA. So
yep. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
When are you going out again, Ken? Where are you going to be, and when are you going? Where are you setting up next?
So well, actually this weekend, Sunday, I'm sharing a table with my guy Howard here. We're doing the Norwalk show on Sunday.
Great.
Um, and then Mohegan show Labor Day weekend, August 30th, my guy Rich, his Whittlebug Cards, his Hamden card show. And then doing Mohegan Sun Labor Day weekend, September 5th, 6th, a weekend off. And then I'm doing Causeway show, and
Yeah.
then the Philly show. You doing the Philly show?
I'm not. I'm doing a local show. I can't do that whole weekend.
Yeah.
unfortunately. I want to do the next one. I'm trying to get into the Dallas show in New Jersey in late October. I think that might be the next big one I do, but I'm doing a bunch of locals in the meantime.
Yeah, I think that was that the weekend of the 12th or the 10th,
I think it's
October
the
10th?
31st and the 1st. It might be Halloween.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I
I
know
need to double
my
check it.
show in North Haven is October 10th, the Columbus Day weekend.
Gotcha. I've got it on my radar. There's a possibility. We'll talk offline. I might be able to do that.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm doing Northeast Expo. I may just do Saturday only on September 12th.
Yeah, I'm away that weekend, so I won't
Yeah,
be
I
at
did pretty
that.
well there last time. It was a good show for me.
I remember seeing you there. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a big deal at the end that really made the show for me. So sometimes it's all it takes is one fire.
You set up at the local shows, what, Long Island in New York?
Yeah, Long Island, New York City, out Jersey. I'm going to Jersey this weekend. I'll be at the North Jersey Card Show on Saturday. And I did the Enfield show. I'll do Connecticut. I've done, Northeast and Stamford, Tri-State, mostly Tri-State. But I want to start branching out.
Yeah,
I've got 4 little ones at home, so it makes it a little more difficult to disappear for the whole weekend. But it's in the offing. It'll happen at some point in time.
Yeah, you're gonna get to a point where you're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna give up those shows, and then I'm just gonna go away one week in a month. I'm gonna go to Dallas, or I'm gonna go to Chicago or Atlanta, or
yeah. I'm not there yet, but
yeah,
baby steps.
Basketball card guy says too many shows these days. What do you think about it? What do you think of that? Do you think there are too many shows? Like Bill's here in South Carolina, he can't find a show to go to, and here we're like a tag sale. I remember people used to get ready to go to tag sale, right? And used to draw it on the map everywhere you were stopping, and that feels like what the card shows are now, right? That you've got 6 stops on a Saturday because everybody's running a show.
Yeah. If I'm behind the table, I will complain about too many shows. But if I want to go out and buy and walk a show, I'm like, look at all these options I have.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot of shows, but that just tells me the market's strong and there's opportunity at every show, as you mentioned earlier. You can make a deal at any show at any time, and it can be a game changer for you, even if it's a small shift in your landscape. Every little bit kind of helps and counts.
Sports Cards the Hobby's considering hosting a show in the East End of Long Island. Is there room on Long Island for one more show?
The East End, maybe. I don't know of any shows that are that far east. That could be interesting. Could be a pain in the ass to get out there. Just don't do it in the summer when people are going out to the Hamptons. You got to make sure it's in between. It's off season, September to like May, and you should be fine out there.
Yeah, I love those. I love those Jersey shows. There's a lot of shows in New Jersey that I really, really like, but it just from where I am, I can get up early and get there, pretty easily. But getting home,
I know.
Sometimes it takes me 3 or 4 hours to get home just because of traffic. It's just especially on a weekend, right? It just becomes insane.
Yeah, even for me, living in New York City, I do a Jersey show, I do a Connecticut show. Coming back into Brooklyn, it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
The morning's one thing, but coming home in the afternoon.
Basketball Cards, the guy says he's going to do his own show and he's going to take all 40 tables himself. One show, 40 tables, all him.
Gonna be a lot of running around.
You need somebody to run the door.
I'll take one of the tables, basketball card guy. Just let me know. They don't take another, so now you only got to do 38.
Yeah. See, and now he's already down to 36 because I've taken 2 more. So that's how this happens, right? Another show is born.
There you go.
Steve, tell everybody where they can reach out to you if they have any questions, they want to say hello, talk to you, ask you anything.
Absolutely. As you know, Ken, I'm on Instagram pretty much every day. I'm either posting content or I'm posting a new card that showed up in the mail. So you can find me on Instagram at SLPC or SL_PC_. You can also email me at my old handle, throwbacksportscards@gmail.com if you want to take it to email, but I'm around and I'm at the shows. I'm always posting my next show as well in my bio on Instagram. So you can come out and say hi if you're, in the area. Love to see you. Meet you.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you jumping on and filling in for Zip.
My
And
pleasure.
hopefully we'll get you back on here again.
Thanks for having me, Ken. I appreciate it. Zip, hope you're having a good time in Disney World. And Ken, hope to see you soon at the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I'm going to be Stanford show. I'm not Stanford, Norwalk show on Sunday. And I'll be back with a new episode Sunday. Zip will be back next weekend. Next week. We'll be back with another live episode. I think we have one more week of preseason before we have to start changing. We have to change from Thursday night to Wednesday night, so we don't have to, we don't have to steal all the fans away from Thursday night football. Yeah.
Could do the halftime show, do like a 20-minute edition.
Yeah. Look, I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank everyone for listening. Please like if you haven't subscribed. Please subscribe, and we'll be back next week.
Take care,
Steve,
guys.
thanks again.
You got it, Ken. Take care. Good luck this weekend.